r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. This one is weird. But, teachers of Reddit, did you ever catch a student masturbating in class? If so, what is the story? Student here. In my old school there was a dude named Josh who was infamous for his weirdness. For some reason when he was 13 he decided to beat it off in maths class right out in the open. He ended up getting a week's worth of isolation, which is basically when you get locked in a room for the whole day and get sent work from your teachers. I've heard you run out of things to do fast and it's the most mind-numbingly boring thing ever. Random side story. At the end of that year there was a lip sync competition between the tutor groups. And Josh stuffed toilet paper down his front and his ass and got up there and did super sexual dancing including twerking in front of the whole year of 300 plus people as well as the head of year. That boy had some serious balls LMAO. He probably kept busy by beating off in ISO. Mom's a teacher for 2nd grade. Kid shaking under the table and turns out his hand is under his belt freaking out the other kids. Mom tells the kid to stop, you're going to hurt yourself. He finishes, they go to the office and have a conversation. Kid had issues for a while since he started that year, was abused in his life and masturbation is a fairly common comfort mechanism for younger abuse victims. Can confirm. Masturbated out from 9-year-old. Didn't know that I was doing that during a very nasty divorce between my parents. Years later we notice our neighbor's kid is also doing the pillow hump thing I did as a kid. She was much younger. Turns out her parents were having a bad divorce too. Spoke to a therapist friend as we were concerned as she confirmed it's a coping mechanism for kids. Made me not feel ashamed for being that way. Not a teacher, but a girl in my class did this. We were about 13-14. She had just moved to our school from Iceland. Quite a few girls had a crush on our geography teacher, but she was the only one brave enough to let him know by shooting her shot. He was paralyzed with shock, but my girl maintained eye contact and continued strumming, mouth agape, until he left the room. Female teacher arrives, grabs her by the arm and drags her out of class. We didn't see her much after that. Wait, so she was masturbating in class to the teacher with no shame whatsoever while also maintaining eye contact? I graduated HS in 2010. We had some kids who probably weren't all there who we suspected of whacking it in class. We never gave them outright shit about it because they were on the spectrum or something but still attended normal classes. One kid wore nothing but those super cheap sweet pants that you see dads wearing in old TV shows. The heather grey with the cuffed ankles. He would just walk around fully talked batting it around and stuff mid-conversation like not even realize he was playing with himself. He was a nice kid so nobody really gave him shit to his face about it. The other kid was an a-hole but still obviously on the spectrum somewhere. He would drape his coat over his lap and go to town. From 7th grade to graduation that's what he did. IDK if he ever got called out on it or not. Fully talked batting it around. I'm not a teacher but in middle school my teacher had one of those wooden planks attached to the bathroom key and it had a hole bored and sanded down on the end of the plank opposite the key. The hole was only big enough to hang it on a nail in the classroom. So a guy in my 6th grade class asks to go to the bathroom and is gone for almost 30 minutes. Teacher sends another boy to check on him. Kid comes back silent. He whispers into the teacher's ear and her eyes bulge in obvious shock and she tells him not to talk to anybody and tells the class that she needs to go talk to dude who is still in the bathroom. So she leaves and everyone is asking what the hell is going on and we all lay into THR guy who knows firsthand what's going on and at first he wouldn't but he essentially had no choice but to talk. So bathroom boy decided to see how good that little hanging hole would feel if he tried to duck it and he got stuck in it. Fire dept and an ambulance came and just wheeled him out on a stretcher and this big as rectangular tent created around his crotch and knee area by a sheet covering his shame was all the evidence I needed to believe it was true. Why? This only kind of applies to the thread, but I'm still taking advantage of the opportunity to share. Middle school track meets. Boys and girls share the bus. I'm a female. And we sat in the front half with the boys in the back half. It was in the middle of a long drive home at night when I heard a lot of giggling and exclamations coming from the back. Being tired, I paid no mind and fell back asleep. The next morning at school, however, I learned what all the commotion was about. One of the boys had stuck a nerd into the tip of his dong and starting masturbating to completion to see how far he could launch it. Apparently he got some impressive distance with it. What the actual duck? It was my first lesson in an all-girls school. When I saw two at the front touching each other while remaining direct eye contact. I taught the rest of the lesson, 10 mins, ensuring everyone's hands stayed up in the air. Thought patrol hands in air. This one I still can't wrap my head around. I'm a kindergarten teacher and can teach any age group from birth 5 years. So in the 4-5-year-old class we had a young girl. During sleep time she would roll her blanket into a ball, lay on her stomach and put the blanket between her legs and grind it. After speaking with the parents and the headmistress of the school, it stopped for a while. But then she started showing other girls how to do it and would sit under tables and show girls her privates. We suggested to the parents that she goes to see a child psychologist but they never took her. I just read to the kindergarten part and stopped. Nah. I was the student. But hear me out y'all. It was 2nd grade. I didn't even know what masturbation was. Really had to pee. But the teacher downright refused to let me go pee. So 2nd grade me thought I have to hold in the pee or I'll piss myself, and my solution was to put my hands in my pants to try and physically keep from wetting myself. I don't remember my teacher's reaction, but she essentially had to deal with a tiny baby accidentally discovering masturbation, all because she wouldn't let someone with a tiny bladder run to the bathroom. Thanks teacher. About the same age I may have peed myself during class because the teacher wouldn't let kids go to the bathroom after lunch. I was scared to ask, so I just tried to hold it and it didn't work. Outright restricting bathroom use is so ducked. Bless you for admitting your experience. Lol. OP is just checking to see if any of his teachers are on Reddit. Well, he's cracked the code. A girl with Down syndrome at my high school got caught. Another student reached for her lunch money that was sitting on her desk, joking that he was going to steal it, and she grabbed his wrist with, let's say, a less than dry hand. After that she wasn't allowed to come into school unless she was wearing pants instead of a skirt. Not a teacher, but there was a girl in my class in middle school who would bring her stuffed Pikachu to class and hump it under her desk. Not a teacher, but I caught two friends both masturbating on the bus. We were coming back to school from a swim meet championship and it was already dark out. Most of us had fallen asleep as we competed in 3 or more events and swam our hearts out. I fell asleep on the bus and woke up from the bus going over a pothole. I had my head on my parka and used it as a pillow. When I woke up I saw 2 of my teammates masturbating. They both are straight to this day. One of them had a girlfriend. The other was notoriously known for hooking up with girls. I was mortified about what was going on and quickly shut my eyes as if I was an 8-year-old being scared of a monster in the closet. They never saw me and I've never spoken about it. TLDR. I woke up and saw 2 straight teammates masturbating next to each other on the school bus. Lol. 10/10 should have whispered into their ears with a sexy voice, mind if you join in. Not masturbating, but one student found a way to put interracial gangbang porn on Google homepage for every computer in the school. So when a student opened up a Google page it would pop up automatically. It was like this for about an hour before I had it blocked. Super weird to have porn up in the back of a classroom, trying to fix it before more students saw it. In programming class one kid would prank people by having gay porn pop up when the computer booted. This was back in the 90s. So it was basically just a modified auto-exec bat pointing to a program. I one-upped him by doing it to his computer before class, but disabling the keyboard on top of it. A more innocent prank was switching keyboards so they plugged into an adjacent computer. So people would start typing away on someone else's computer. There was also a built-in messenger program that ran over the LAN, which wasn't used, but we discovered one day. You could send messages to others and it would open a little chat prompt. For people who didn't touch type, they'd be pecking away at their keyboard looking at each letter, not realizing that it was going into the chat prompt instead of their program. Not a teacher, but I'm at uni and guys masturbate to porn in the library all the ducking time. And it is very uncomfortable to type up my lab reports and hear grunting next to me. Heard a kid jacking in the bathroom in high school. Didn't say a word. Just did my business and left. While exiting the bathroom, I passed the drill sergeant vice principal who was walking in. He could hear and smirked. The kid got suspended. It would be ducking hilarious if you started obnoxiously knocking on his stall door yelling, "Do you need assistance in there?" or if you just looked him dead in the eyes from under the stall and in the most chill voice said, "Hi." FFS, I cracked myself up. Not a teacher, but we had this kid at my school who put his knees up in his sweater to jerk off in secret and everyone knew but the teacher. So he gets up to wash his hands and then comes back to do it again. And again. And everyone knows by now and is laughing their asses off, and they just douse the doorknob in rubbing alcohol. Lol. Almost a teacher here, but this story happened when I was around 14-15. We were watching Schindler's List in class one day and I look over at my classmate. I notice that his hand is in his pants and all of a sudden it looked like he had a cramp. He pulls his hand up and act like nothing. Dude had just busted a nut to a movie about the Holocaust. Schindler's Load. We were in 6th grade and we had one guy who was pretty big for his age. So he was proud at that time and he had to show it every now and then, so every 2 days he would sit back and pull down his pants and masturbate. Every girl would turn to see it and probably teacher saw it because it lasted for 3-4 months. But obviously she didn't know how to handle situation and didn't want to make it awkward, so she let it go. Few years later, he finished in jail. Robbing. Street fights. Finished in jail, ironic. My ex taught special ed. Severely autistic boy did it in class on the reg. They were told to just let him do it. Oh, so special ed kids get to do it but I can't? Not a teacher, but a kid at my school got caught during an exam having a wank and then consuming the evidence. WTF. Not a teacher, but a student. Dude in my class jizzed in his hand, and when a teacher, Fem, confronted him, he said that it was just boogers. She calmly left the class. If that's your booger, put it back in your nose. Not a teacher, but his nickname the rest of the year was Spanx. Unfortunately, I'm not a teacher. But I found my friend consecutively masturbated in his 6th period every day because the teacher was hot. He sits in the back of the classroom and he has a really big hoodie on at all times. But he told me since he keeps a straight face while doing it, he's never been caught. I'm not friends with this person anymore. Not a teacher. But in high school I rummaged through the teacher's desk when she was out of the classroom. I found a detention slip of a mentally challenged in my class. Kid got caught masturbating with a Playboy while smoking a cig in the boys' bathroom. I'm still amazed how he was able to do this. But kudos, you talented bastard. Prop up the magazine on the toilet paper dispenser. Cigarette in the offhand. Main hand for jacking it up. I bet that's how he'd have done it. Not a teacher, but a kid in my class used to draw a smiley face on his penis and expose himself inconspicuously and excitedly whisper, "Smiley." He also used to sneak up behind people and place his penis on their shoulder. He got expelled. He also used to sneak up behind people and place his penis on their shoulder. Was he the size of Slenderman? Not a teacher. But in high school it was known that you could get into the auditorium very easily by pulling up on the door handles really hard and tripping the lock. I was on the stage crew for one of the plays going on and decided I'd get a little extra work done during a study hall since I had nothing to work on. Got permission and walked down there. All the doors are locked. I use the trick and go to backstage to turn on the lights for the stage. I get back to what they call the cage where all the electrical equipment was to turn on the lights and such, and find this theater chick with a laptop and headphones on going at it. We locked eyes and I legit froze. She kept going until she finished. She took off her headphones and said, "Well, now I guess you'll be turning me in for this." I just shook my head and turned on the lights, and we actually had a pretty good conversation while working on some of the props for the play. We ended up becoming decent friends and even fooled around a couple times right where our first encounter happened. She's married now with 3 kids and we still chat from time to time. Probably the chillest chick ever. I just imagine them inviting you over for dinner. And the spouse asks how you met. Well, there she was. Just strumming along. How could we not become friends? Was teaching a 5-year-old boy piano. This kid is a nightmare. 99% of the lesson, I'm just trying to get him to sit on the chair. I was basically just there to babysit while his parents have a quiet dinner in the living room. One lesson, he kept touching his penis and then looking at me and laughing. He wasn't masturbating, but he kept pulling his dong out and touch squeeze it. I don't know, I didn't dare look, and then look at me and laugh. I know he's probably just curious and thought it was funny. But even after telling him to stop many times, he still did it a couple times for the next few lessons. I didn't tell his parents, but I'm sure they already know he does this. For your information, I'm female and this was when I just started teaching. Around 17-18 years old. How can you tell if it's a boy piano? Ducking like and subscribe.